Hi, this is BTEC Construction, and today we're looking at pre-construction. What we do before we actually start the manufacture of our design. Now, first of all, we're going to be looking through the revision guide, looking at some of the key terms. Over the last couple of lessons, we've looked at what SIPs are, sustainably insulated panels. We've been looking at common construction walls, and we've also been looking at different ways of thermal insulation. And today is a bit of a summary of all those things. So first of all, we're going to be looking at SIPs houses. Now, houses can be clad with different materials. Well, what does clad mean? Clad simply means to be covered, to have something which surrounds you. So if your walls are leaking in and there's moisture getting in between the mortar, between the two bricks, that layer in between the top brick and the second brick is the mortar. If there's water seeping in, then inside your house will be damp. You've got a couple of ways of repairing that. You can either remove the mortar and then infill it again with proper mortar that's going to stop water from penetrating. Or you can clad the house and cover the whole house in something called UPVC cladding. And that is where it's a plastic which is clad around the outside. It's called UPVC because it does not react to ultraviolet light. In the olden days, the windows used to react to ultraviolet light, and the beautiful white windows used to go around the outside of the houses, or if you had different kind of fake timber windows that went around the outside, they were affected by ultraviolet light, and eventually that plastic would become brittle and it will break. So they created UPVC windows, which means it's not affected by ultraviolet light. Now then, if you're doing a SIPs house, you want to be looking at something like timber cladding or wooden shingles. Now, what are shingles? No, it's not a disease. Well, it is, but that's not what we're talking about today. Wooden shingles are where you've got strips of timber that you put on one, then the next, then the next, then the next. Then you put a little layer on top of that, just slightly overlapping. And these overlapping shingles would allow the moisture to run down the wall and run straight off to allow the water to not penetrate the building, but allow the water to run off the building. So they'd be wooden shingles. Now, shortly after this video, you're going to see some pictures of some houses. These houses, believe it or not, are SIPs houses. They are covered in a fake brick that goes around the outside. They call these fascia bricks. So it's a timber house, it's a SIPs house, it's a timber frame building, and on the outside they've clad it with something called fascia bricks. And these bricks make it look like it's a real stone clad building. They also have something further up, halfway up the building, above the brickwork, where it all is looking smooth, and that is where they've used screed and they've used concrete and they've put a rendering on the outside. A rendering is basically a very smooth layer to make it look smooth. If this was the outside of the house, this would be a really good rendered wall and it just looks smooth. You can paint it any colour you want, and it's just another way of protecting the timber that's underneath it. There are some other keywords that we're going to look at, like surface finishes or insulation or lintels. These lintels you find above the windows, and they are above the windows for a very good reason, because if they were not there, all the bricks on top of the windows would cause the window just to collapse. We're going to be looking at studs in walls. We're going to look at a word called moisture resistance, and this is where it stops the water from getting into the material. You can cover different things to make it moisture resistant. When you put some bricks at the bottom of the house and they slowly build up, you get to about 4 bricks high, and then you put a layer on top of that. That is called a damp-proof course, and that stops moisture from going through one brick and seeping up. You see, bricks are made from loads of little holes, and these little holes can soak up moisture. A bit like if you got a sugar cube and you dropped it into some water, it would soak up the water all the way up. If you got a used toilet roll and you put it into some water, it would soak all the way up. That damp-proof course is where you cut a line amongst the middle of the bricks and a polymer layer is laid there, and that will stop the moisture from getting any further. So the moisture doesn't rise up the brickwork and cause the inside of the house to go damp. Now, also we're going to look at something called desk-based construction. Well, how can you build something when you're sat at a desk? Well, a desk-based construction is simply where you're looking at the people that are involved before you start the build. So you're looking at the health and safety executive. The health and safety executive is the person that you go to with your risk assessments, telling them what you're going to build, how you're going to build it, who's going to be at risk. When they're 2 stories high, what kind of scaffolding are you going to use? What kind of prevention measures are you going to have to stop them falling off the scaffolding, but also to prevent things from falling further above and landing on their heads when they're on the scaffolding? What kind of safety equipment would they wear to keep themselves protected? Also, desk-based pre-construction is where you might have the layout plan. This is the plan of your build. What's it going to look like? It is all laid out on a piece of paper, and you can physically see not just what you're going to do, but where you're going to put the buildings. Also, we're going to look at the program of work. The program of work is where you stage section by section what you are going to do. You never start the building of a house looking at the roof. You start at the foundations and you work up. Therefore, you've got to create a substructure. Therefore, you've got to have diggers on site at the right time doing the right job. Also, you need to know where the electrical cables are using your CAT detector. Also, you would have around your site something called a statutory notice. You'll be putting a sign on the outside saying, look, building work is going to take place. We're going to have certain hazards here and we need to notify other people. There are things that are going to happen when you're working on the site. You'd have a fence that goes all the way around the outside, and that will protect people from the outside so they don't fall into your substructure or your foundations, but it will also stop people from stealing from you, but it will also keep the people that are in the building site safe, knowing that people cannot just wander onto the site. That means you can concentrate on your job and you're not looking around at what other people are doing. The work on the site, pre-construction, you would have your toilets, you would have your first aid centre, you would have a drying room, because believe it or not, when you've been working out in the rain all day, it's a statutory right that you can have your clothes dried overnight in a massive drying room. So when you arrive to work in the morning, your boots are dry, your jackets are dry, your waterproof trousers are dry, and you feel equipped, ready for the day. It's also a legal requirement for them to have a sink so you can wash the whole of your arm. Not just your hands, but the whole of your arm. If you're doing brickwork and you're mixing, you're going to have concrete up and down your arms, and you need to be able to wash yourself properly. There are a whole host of things that we're going to look at on the worksheets, so have a look at what we've prepared for you and let me know if there's any questions. Also, because it's on YouTube, subscribe, put a thumbs up, let me know that you're watching the videos and that you're enjoying them, and we'll do some more. Okay? Thank you very much. This is Mr. Cox, BTEC Construction, looking at pre-construction activities.